In this video, we'll look at 3 different augmented chord shapes. Here are chord charts which show 3 inversions of the augmented chord. The numbers in the circles indicate the fingers used to make the chord shapes. The X's above the strings indicate that those strings are not to be struck. What's interesting about augmented chords is that any note in the chord can be considered the root. To make the first version of the augmented chord, place your first finger on the 3rd string of a fret, your 2nd finger on the 4th string of the next fret, your 3rd finger on the 5th string of the next fret, and your 4th finger on the 6th string of the next fret. Now strum through the top 4 strings. To make the second version of the augmented chord, bar the 2nd and 3rd strings of a fret with your 1st finger, place your 2nd finger on the 4th string of the next fret, and your 3rd finger on the 5th string of the next fret. Now strum through the middle 4 strings. You can add an optional high note here on the 1st string by using your 4th finger. So if you're barring the 5th fret like I am in this example, I'm placing my 4th finger up here on the 8th fret of the 1st string. To make the 3rd version of the augmented chord, place your 1st finger on the 1st string of a fret, your 2nd finger on the 3rd string of the next fret, your 3rd finger on the 2nd string of that same fret, and then your 4th finger on the 4th string 1 fret away again. Now strum through the bottom 4 strings. An interesting fact about augmented chords is that any note in the augmented chord can be considered the root. What this means is that these patterns repeat every 4 frets up the fretboard. So if I take this pattern right here, I have an E note under my 2nd finger, which is on the 4th string. Now if I move it up 4 frets, I have an E under my 3rd finger on the 5th string. So I move that up 4 frets and now I again have an E augmented chord. If I move it up 4 more frets, I now have an E on the 6th string here under my 4th finger. That's a property of augmented chords, that every 4 frets they repeat and that every note in the chord can be considered the root.